Welcome to South Asia. This is J. Reddy, your presenter. Excuse me. At South Asia, we try to bring the cultural and historical knowledge of South Asian region, south of Karakoram Mountains and north of sacred city of Kanyakumari at the Triveni Sangam, tri-junction of Hindu Mahasagar, Ganga Sagar and Sindh Sagar, Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Ocean. Excuse me. This presentation today centers around a fascinating railway line that the British rulers, British East India Company built in India. That is the title, India Railways Madras to Bombay Railway Line. Subtitle is The British Imperialism in Bharat, established in Carnatic Wars and Battle of Palasdari in the lower Indo-Gangetic Plains, Bengal Plains. British imperialism consolidates in 1871 during Lord Mayo, Governor General's time, when this railway line was completely linked at Raichur in the Raichur Doab of Deccan Peninsula. That means it linked the two prominent presidencies, the power centers of British imperialism, Bombay Presidency and Madras Presidency. Excuse me. The Indian Railways, the fascinating journey to Deccan, a Deccan Odyssey we are going to venture ourselves today through Madras and Bombay railway line. You will not be just knowing the railway, you will be knowing lot of things as usual during our presentation in South Asia map. Excuse me. These are all the points we will cover today. After this presentation, you will have a deeper understanding of the land, people and culture. We talk about the Mumbai-Chennai line. Mumbai-Chennai line, that is 1281 kilometers, completed in 1871 AD. Highest point between Madras city in the southeast and Bombay's Salsette Island in the southwest is on the Sahyadri mountains, Lonavala area, 622 meters. Then how the Mumbai Chennapatnam railway line started. Mumbai-Thane initial railway line laid during Lord Dalhousie's time by the Great Indian Peninsula Railway, also called GIPR, is its extension to Kalyan in 1859. Then the GIPR separately started laying the route between the Pune, the formal historic capital of Bharat, residence of the Peshwas, Pune to Khandala, 1858. Palasdari and Khandala finished reaching Khandala in 1862. Then the Bombay, Mumbai, there is a spelling mistake here, connected to Pune in Deccan, 1862 at Bhor Ghat by cutting through or passing the historic Bhor Ghat region. Then we will talk about this is the Pune Raichur section laying in phases. Pune to Barsi Road at Dhond, I think Kurdwadi, and Pune, Barsi to Mohol near Solapur, Solapur to Raichur, finished in 1871. At the same time, the southern part, one more railway line called Madras Railways, officially called Madras Railway Company MRC, which was originally building a trunk line from Chennai to Baipur in Malabar, that is Kadalundi, and later extended to Calicut, Kozhikode, historical capital of Jamorin kings in the Malabar coast of today's modern Kerala. And they took an extension diversion at Arakkonam in the North Arcot region to Renigunta in 1862. The Renigunta Junction to Raichur Junction was completed in 1871. The entire railway line was built. Then the railways played a very important ideological role. They have serious ideological implications on the Bharat, South Asia. Then we talk about the legacy through the eyes of Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup and Rajeshri Sitaram Goel, intellectual think tank of Voice of India, how they compared Islamic imperialism, which is crude and rude and violent and openly aggressive, compared to British imperialism through Machiavellism, intelligent, sophisticated, subtle and cunning. How the railways placed such a prominent role in this part for the intellectual surrender of Hindu society. The process started with Lord Dalhousie from Mumbai to Thane, completed with Lord Mayo in 1870 from Mumbai, Bombay to Madras Central. In this fascinating point, we look at Nagari Hills, Renigunta Pass, east of the famous pilgrimage center and temple town of Tirupati, Palakonda Ranges, Velikonda Range, parts of eastern Ghats are Turpu Kanamalu, locally called Kadapa Basin region, crossing the Pennar River, entering into Rayalaseema Plateau, historical land of Vijayanagara emperors, then crossing Krishna River at Kista town, entering into Raichur Doab, Raichur Plateau, Raichur Doab, Raichur Plateau here, and going through Wadi and Yadgir in the Bhima Valley, and crossing the Bhima at Dhond, entering into Pune region via Mula Valley, Mutha Valley, Indrayan Valley, then reaching the Sahyadri mountains, piercing through the Bhor Ghat near Nagari Hills, Nagari ranges, Lonavala, Khandala, Palasdari, Karjat, and entering into Ullas Basin, Ullas River Plateau. Of course, finally enter into Salsette Island and Bombay Island. This is in brief about the Madras Bombay, the railway line. I will first show this railway line so that you will have a clear understanding how this railway line looks here when you look in a topographical map of India. This basic image I think I got from Francis Ramspot and drew the very lightly so that we don't want to lose much of topographical information. And excuse me, here you can see This is the historic Carnatic region, Coromandel region, Cholamandalal region. We have Pulicat Lake here. This is the Fort St. George, other name for the Madras city. The British built a railway in the Madras Presidency from Madras. This core line or trunk line to Malabar district at Baipur, that is the southern part of Calicut. Baipur then extended to Kadalundi here somewhere and to Calicut, Jamorin's capital. At Jolarpettai Junction in the west of Javadi mountains, they built one more diversion climbing the Deccan Plateau or Kolar Plateau, reaching the resident headquarters at Bangalore cantonment, where the British resident lived and Maharaja lived at Mysore. And in this Madras Baipur core of the Madras Presidency, they took a diversion at Arkonam town. This is Pala River, you can see. This is Arkonam town and enters into Telugu speaking areas. This is Nagari Hills in the Chittoor districts. Takes a small diversion here. Here, these are the eastern Ghats. The western part is Palakonda. Eastern part is Velikonda. Enters, cuts is the Renigunta at this pass. This is just a few kilometers from Tirupati. Tirupati will be somewhere here. And enters into Renigunta into this pass, goes through Kodur and Rajampeta in the valley that is formed by Palakonda ranges in the west, Velikonda ranges in the east, that is Eastern Ghats, emerges out of these Palakonda ranges where the Pennar River meets, hits the Eastern Ghats at Kadapa town or Kadapa district. This is the Pennar River. You can see the Pennar River coming here from Kolar Plateau. You can see nice Pennar River demarcation, Eastern Ghats, and Nellore town will be somewhere here. The Madras-Bombay line continues after Pennar River after Kadapa town via Pennar Valley. So they have taken very easy route along the Pennar Valley. You hit the Tadipatri town here. There will be Yerraguntla here. You will hit the Tadipatri town. Then it enters into Kadapa Bay. This is the Kadapa Basin. This is the Pennar River Valley. Then it enters into Rayalaseema Plateau into Anantapur district at Gooty. There is a very big railway junction in the heartland of Rayalaseema at Gooty. Then takes a northern detour, enters, cuts through Adoni town. Gooty, Adoni. Here this is the Tungabhadra River, and you can see the historic Tungabhadra Dam near Bellary and Hampi here. This is the Tungabhadra River joins, which is a tributary of Krishna River. This Kurnool will be somewhere here. So the railway line crosses Tungabhadra at a famous pilgrimage central called Mantralayam, where deity Raghavendra Swami resides. Then enters into Raichur Doab, Raichur Plateau, the historical land of contention between the southern Vijayanagara emperors and northern Islamic invaders, Bahmani rulers, and are its splinter states, Bijapuris and so on. This is Raichur town. Renigunta to Raichur was built by Madras Railways, MRC, in various phases. Then Pune to Raichur was built by GIPR, Great Indian Peninsula Railway. That means the entire line from Raichur to Pune which was built in phases. Then Pune to Khandala was also built in phases. Then Khandala through Bombay was built in phases. That means from Bombay to Raichur, GIPR built that line. From Raichur to Renigunta, Madras Railway built that line. Other part. So after Raichur, this here Krishna River. So it crosses the Krishna River at a place called Kista. Close to, like, sounds similar to Krishna River, Kista. That means after Bhima River, which is a major northern tributary of Krishna, or left-hand tributary of Krishna River. So it enters in Wadi. We are now in Bhima Plains. You see the Wadi, Yadgir, Gulbarga, Solapur, and up to down. This is the Bhima Valley. This is Bhima Valley. You can see beautiful Bhima Valley. This is the Bhima River you can see here. Wadi is a junction. One branch can go to Vikarabad and Hyderabad, the Secunderabad. That is Nizam's territory, Asafia territory. Asaf Jahi rulers, Turani originated. Central Asian Turkish Muslims ruled that area called Hyderabad and Berar. From Wadi, there is a diversification or detour to that. The main Madras-Bombay line continues, goes to Yadgir here in Kalaburagi district, then hits the Gulbarga, the historic second capital of Islamic imperialism in Deccan, Gulbarga. First capital was in Devagiri, Daulatabad in Ajanta range, somewhere here in the Aurangabad district. Then Gulbarga or Kalaburagi, it continues, enters is a transition zone between Canary-speaking southern portion and Marathi-speaking northern portion, enters into Desh territory of Maharashtra at Sholapur, Mohol. Pandarpur will be few kilometers away on the river somewhere here. Then continues, then Kurundwadi, that takes a detour to Barsi, this Barsi region. Kurundwadi at Dond, the Madras Bombay line crosses the Bhima River, enters into Mula-Mutha Valley and reaches the historic Peshwa's capital Pune, Mula-Mutha Valley, and then continues via Indrayani Valley and up to the Sahyadri Mountains. You see Sahyadri Mountains here, or Western Ghats here, and you see here Khandala. After Lonavala and Khandala, it cuts the Bhor Ghat Pass, the historic Bhor Ghat Pass. The railway station at Lonavala is round about 622 meters. That means I think more than 2000 feet or something like that. That is the highest point between Madras and Bombay. Remember, the Bombay will be few meters, maybe 5 to 10 meters about mean sea level differ, and Madras Central will be similar, around about 5 to 10 meters mean sea level. The highest point of the railway track is near Khandala at a place called Lonavala, and this is the Ullas River basin, Ullas River Plateau, and it crosses the Ullas River or Thane Creek, Ullas Creek, enters into Salsette Island, that surrenders the Bombay Island and enters Bombay at Victoria Terminus Station. That is the summum bonum of British imperialism, named after the railway station at that time, Queen Victoria or Maharani Victoria. The later they changed the name to Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. That's how we have a brief look here. Now let us go over these things in little more detail. You will see the chronological building after we looked at the topological view of Madras Bombay railway line that is 1280 kilometers long, and we are in the fascinating land of South Asia, Bharat, and continuing our journey in the Deccan Odyssey, traveling from Madras Central railway station to Bombay Victoria terminus through the fascinating Deccan region of Bharat. That is the Mumbai-Chennai line is 1281 kilometers long, and it was completed in 1871, started in 1853, almost took round about 19 years or so, and originally during Lord Dalhousie's time, they started a railway company called GIPR. There are two railway companies you should remember when we talk about this that played a very prominent role in building the railways in that region. GIPR and MRC. GIPR is Great Indian Peninsular Railway. Other railway in the Madras Presidency is Madras Railway. That's called formally MRC, Madras Railway Company. There is also Maratha Railway Company. We look at that at appropriate time. And first, during Lord Dalhousie's time, before the Sepoy Mutiny, they started laying the railway lines, and from Mumbai, Bombay to Thane, a railway line was built on 1853 by GIPR. Later, that railway line from Thane was extended into Ullas Basin to Kalyan 1 year later to 1854. From that, at the same time, the railway line from Pune, eastern side of Sahyadri mountains, from the Pune town, Pune city, round about 560 meters above the mean sea level, just touching the outer reaches of Sahyadri mountain. The railway line was built from Pune to Khandala. Then the other side from Bombay, Thane, Kalyan to Lonavala, a rail has to be built. That means that has to pass through the Sahyadri mountains at Bhor Ghat pass, are called Palasdari to Khandala railway line was built. Pune to Khandala on this side, Palasdari to Khandala 1862. That means the Bhor Ghat was crossed. That was a very tough time. The railway line was built. Once the Bhor Ghat railway line was built from Palasdari to Khandala, and Bombay was connected to Pune in 1862. That means that is during Canning's time, Lord Canning, who succeeded Lord Dalhousie. 1857, Dalhousie demitted office, and Canning came, I think, in 1857, February or so. Within 3-4 months, May, the rebellion broke down in the upper Ganga Doab, that is in the Meerut region. So they sensed very important to secure the country and move the armed forces. And Mumbai and Pune, Mumbai is the headquarters of Bombay Presidency, and Pune is a historical city and headquarters of Maratha Empire. That means it was the de facto capital of much of Bharat during the Maratha Empire regime. So it was built in 1862 after passing the railway line through the Bhor Ghat. At the same time, from you have Pune here, right? Pune to Raichur. Pune to Raichur, the railway system was built in phases. There is the Pune is the Maratha territory, Peshwa's capital. Raichur in the Canary-speaking region, a transition done between historic Vijayanagara emperors and northern Islamic invaders Bahmani Empire. And this was built in phases from first Pune to Raichur section. Pune to Barsi. Pune to Barsi is somewhere here that is called Kurundwadi. There is a Barsi district in Sholapur area that connects to Ahmednagar and so on. So Barsi Road. Pune to Barsi Road was built at the same time, 1859, and Barsi Road to Mohol. Mohol is a small town on this railway track, few kilometers north of Sholapur. Pune to Barsi Road, that is Kurundwadi, and Barsi Road, Kurundwadi to Mohol was built next year. And finally, from Sholapur, the railway line was completed in the Raichur Doab, Raichur Plateau in the Canaries territory. So at that time it was Nizam's territory. Raichur district, Kulbaragi district, and Bidapur district, Bidar district in the Bhor Ghat train was in under Nizams of Hyderabad's control, their territory. And Sholapur to Raichur was finished 1870. At the same time, from the southern part, after they started Madras Railway Company, and that built a railway line from Chennapatnam, Madras Central to Malabar district, going through Vellore, Jolarpettai, Tirupur, and Salem, Tirupattur near Jolarpettai, and Tirupur, and Coimbatore, and Palakkad, Shoranur, and excuse me, finally through Baipur. Baipur is the southern part of Baipur River, the Kadalundi, and later extended to Calicut, that is the district headquarters of Malabar. That was a code line, the main line from Madras district, surrounded by Chengalpattu, to Malabar district. British built a railway line. And at Arkonam, they built a junction and took a detour. And the MRC, Madras Railway Company, built a line from Arkonam via Renigunta to Raichur in phases. That was completed in 1871. And Sholapur to Raichur line was already completed in 87. That means the railway line was built when both the GIPR buildings constructions and MRC constructions were completed at Raichur. The train started the services for the public during the Lord Mayo's time in 1871. Here I have included what is the ideological implications of the railway line. We will look at the ideological perspective of Voice of India think tank Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarupji, who is considered India's the topmost intellectual giant in the later half of 20th century. That means 1950 to 2000. He passed away around about 1998 December, and he is a colleague and a prominent publisher, himself a great thinker, called Rajarshi Sitaram Goel, called intellectual Kshatriya of modern time. They dissected Islamic imperialism and also British imperialism and mechanism in yogic perspective. Islamic imperialism, which dominated Deccan, crude and rude and violent, very openly aggressive. British imperialism, Macaulaism is a product of that, is very intelligent, sophisticated, subtle and cunning. Here the point is, what is the implications on Indian society today? When during the Muslim rule in India, Hindus always thought this is a very crude, violent religion, and they have they didn't regard it highly. Allah in Quran just asked us to take the talwar and go and convert and conquer, reduce the people of Darul Harb into third-rate citizens, Jimmies. British didn't do it. It is a very sophisticated. When the railways line was built, it was a very, very different intellectual atmosphere. Hindus were overwhelmed. In our village, I remember people used to sell From my village is around about 7 or 8 kilometers nearest to railway station in Rayalaseema region, historic Rayalaseema region. Our village elders, they used to get into the bullock cart, friends and family members. They used to travel in the bullock cart and go and see the nearest railway line. They will wait until the railway line comes, how that 7-8 bogies with steam engines move so much speed and might. They were so fascinated. In this sense, Hindus were very fascinated by the railway lines, their engineering marvels, canal colony districts, canal colonies, and so on. So, in this sense, railways played a very important role in the intellectual surrender of Hindus, which didn't happen during Islamic imperialism, that happened in very short time during the British imperialism. That is the point I have mentioned here in this context. The intellectual surrender of Hindu society is complete. Of course, whose byproducts were the epitome is Nehruji himself, is a Macaulayite, and Radcliffe Award, the British surrender, the leaders surrendered to the British. All those things we'll talk at that time. That's not important here. The context is how the railways played a very important psychological, ideological role on the local Hindus, Hindu intellectuals, to surrender themselves to the British imperialism, meekly for Macaulaysm, when they opposed so severely the crude and rude Islamic imperialism coming from Arabia, Jazirat al-Arabia. That is the point we are trying to bring here. So the important geographical landmarks we already went through. I will just go through here again so that we are in one place. We'll see Madras city in the Coromandel region or Cholamandalam region, surrounded by the Chengalpattu district, that Kanchipuram is headquarters. This is the perfect plain, Carnatic plain, Carnatic Payangat. And we have Arkonam here, the railway. These are Nagari Hills or Chittur area of Rayalaseema. The railway line skids on the left side of the Nagari Hills. And now we come to Renigunta. Renigunta is a town, is a junction. It is around about 10 kilometers or so on the east side of famous pilgrimage center of Bharat, South India at Tirupati. Actually in Tirumala, Lord Balaji or Venkateshwara resides. It's called Tirupati, the down, the below the hills. The Tirupati will be there and Renigunta. At Renigunta, there is a gap. This is the Eastern Ghats. It's called Renigunta Pass or Renigunta Gap between the Western Palakonda regions and Eastern Velikonda ranges. Palakonda ranges here, Velikonda ranges here. There's a part of Eastern Ghats. And there is a gap. The train, the British choose that so that they can move very easily. They build the railway line, goes to Kodur, Anandarajpet and Rajampet, and emerges out of that into the Kadapa basin at Kadapa town. Kadapa is a town where Pennar River cuts east in the Eastern Ghats here, and it travels along the Pennar River in the Kadapa basin. See, here traveling around the Pennar River in the Kadapa basin. Tadipatri here, a very important city on Pennar River where the Vijayanagara emperor's artistic monuments reside, and enters into the Rayalaseema Plateau. This is the plateau region of Rayalaseema, Kadapa district and Anantapur districts in this area, and enters into Guntakal. Guntakal is a major junction in Rayalaseema Plateau. Western side you can go to Bellary and Hampi, Gadag, Dharwar, and go to Lonavala and Vasco da Gama. This is Gomantak or Goa region. From Guntakal east you can go to Dronachalam, Drone, and all this region, and Markapuram in the eastern Ghats to Nasarapeta, Guntur and Bandar on the coast. Coast to coast railway line centered at Guntakal Junction. It's a mighty, very big junction. From Guntakal, we continue our journey in the Rayalaseema Plateau to at Adoni, and Adoni, the southern part of this is the sacred Tungabhadra River. You can see the Bhadra River here, Bhadra Reservoir, Tunga River here, and joins Tungabhadra and Shivamogga district. This is a Tungabhadra Reservoir near historic Vijayanagara capital, ruined city of Hampi, and you can see the railway line crosses at Tungabhadra at a place called Mantralayam, and leaves the Rayalaseema Plateau, enters into Raichur Doab or Raichur Plateau. That is a very fertile Doab region between the two rivers. A interflow between two rivers. Southern part Tungabhadra River, northern part Krishna River. This is Raichur Doab or Raichur Plateau, and crosses the Raichur Plateau at a place called Kista, and enters into Bhima Valley. We are looking at the Bhima Valley, and at Yadgir, Wadi and Yadgir, this is a diversification to Nizam's capital Hyderabad, Secunderabad, continues and goes to the Bhima Valley, Kalaburagi, Sholapur, Mohal, and at Don, it leaves the Bhima Valley, Bhima River, you can see. Bhima River cuts through the Bhima River and enters into Mula River, Mutha River. Mula-Mutha rivers in Pune region at the junction, and you have a historic Pune city, the capital of Peshwas, and later goes along the Indrayani Valley and hits the Sahyadri mountains. At Bhor Ghat, it is railway bridged, railway line connected, and Matharan ranges, it crosses and Lonavala, Khandala, Palasdari and Karjat, and enters into the Ullas River basin and enters finally Salsette Bombay Islands. And we look this in a different perspective here, and we look at the Google before we look at the Google map, we look at this, the same thing we are doing, but you will get a very fascinating perspective. As usual, at South Asia maps, we are not just going to put one map and leave you. We will bring you a deeper understanding where you understand the land, people, culture, heritage. The same thing here. This is the Pulicat lake here. That is a transition point between the northern Telugu-speaking territories and southern Tamil-speaking territories of Carnatic Nawabi or historic Vijayanagara Emperor's time. Madras city will be there somewhere here, Madras Central. You can see the Nagari Hills again here. The railway line from Arkonam here goes through, skips the Nagari Hills here, and comes and stands still at Renigunta. Renigunta will be here. You can see the Renigunta here. These are the Velikonda ranges in the east. These are the Palakonda ranges in the west. This is all eastern Ghats. They are called Nalamala Hills here, the different names. Then we have Rajampeta, Anantarajpet and Kodur in this beautiful valley. And here the Kadapa town on the Pennar River. You see the Pennar River cutting the eastern Ghats, and this is the Kadapa basin. This is the Nandal Valley between Erramala ranges here and Nalamala ranges here. Kundu River flows there, and the train continues the journey in the Kadapa basin, skips the southern part Erramala range, and yet Tadpatri will be somewhere here in Pennar, on the Pennar River. And we can see after Pennar River, and it climbs the Rayalaseema Plateau. We have seen the Tungabhadra River here. This is the Raichur Doab. At Mantralayam crosses the Tungabhadra River, and it continues and crosses this is the Krishna River at Kista. This is the Bhima River Valley, enters in the Bhima River Valley here. At Wadi, it takes a diversion to Hyderabad, continues at Wadi Yadgir and Kulbaragi and Sholapur, and crosses cuts the Bhima River on the west and enter into the Pune region, and the Mula-Mutha rivers will be here, and Indrayani Valley here, and Lonavala, Khandala, Palasdari and Karjat, all those regions, Bhor Ghat here, and descends from the Bhor Ghat region into the Konkan plains, that is called Ullas Basin or Ullas Plateau of that region, and goes to Kalyan at Thane and enters into Salsette Island and Bombay. So that is a different perspective of the same thing we see, so that we will have a clarity. So each map will give a different perspective and highlights the different things. That's why I am taking the time to show you, and so that you can appreciate and get greater idea of this railway. So we have Bombay, first line built to Thane, then extended to Kalyan, and the Kalyan and the entire thing was built until this Palasdari near Kapoli, and Lonavala. Khandala will be somewhere here. This Khandala to this line was built in the faces, piercing the Bhor Ghat around about 622 meters near Lonavala region. The Lonavala, that is the summit of this railway line, 620 meters, and it continues to Pune to Indrayani Valley and Mula-Mutha River. So this is the Mula-Mutha River region, and Pune to Khandala was built by GIPR in this range, and at the same time it built the southeastern part. So at Dond, the river in the Bhima Valley enters. This is all Bhima Valley, and it crosses the Dond, enters into the Bhima Valley. On the other side, the train continues into the Bhima Valley, Kurdwadi, that is the Barsi road towards the Barsi. You can see we are in the Bhima Valley. We talked about Mohol near Solapur. We are still in the Bhima Valley region, continuing in the Bhima Valley. Excuse me. The transition zone between the northern Marathi speaking and southern Canary speaking. We are in the Bhima Valley here still, Kulbaragi and Yadgir, and before reaching Yadgir, we'll see a Wadi somewhere here, Wadi Sedam Chitargi, somewhere here, and anyway. Excuse me. We continue the Wadi, and at Kista, it crosses into Raichur Doab. There is a town called Kista, north of Devadurga. There will be Kista here, Devadurga town, and we enter into the Raichur Doab, historic Raichur Doab here, Raichur and Gadwal regions. You see the Mantralayam, where the train pierces or crosses Tungabhadra River and enter into the Rayalaseema Plateau, and you see Adoni here, the Adoni in the Rayalaseema Plateau, and Guntakal, the historical Guntakal Junction, and then leaves the Rayalaseema Plateau, enters into the Pennar River Valley. At Tadipatri you can see, and Yerraguntla will be here, and Kadapa. At Kadapa is the Pennar Valley. This enters into, this is the Palkonda ranges in the west, and we have Velikonda ranges in the east, enters into Rajampeta and Kodu, those regions. We can see it it leaves the pass near Renigunta. You can see the Renigunta here, the pilgrimage center Tirupati here at Renigunta. And of course, the diversion was originally constructed from Arkonam and excuse me, Arakonam. This is Chennai, and Arkonam will be somewhere here, and so this is continues the Renigunda, and you see the Nagari. This you see at Renigunda here, and Arkonam will be somewhere here, and so if you look at other different map, you get a very beautiful different view. This Bombay Island, Salsette Island, Thane, excuse me, and you get the The Lonavala region 622 meters, and Pune, this is Mula-Mutha River, finally Indrayani Valley. And we'll continue that at Dond. This is the Bhima River, crosses the Bhima River and Dond. You can see Bhima River, Bhima is dammed here, and Pandharpur, there will be Kurundwadi here, the Barsi Road, and Mohal and Solapur, we are in the Bhima. It's still the Bhima River here, and this is the Afzalpur. And Bhima River, it crosses into Raichur Doab and Bhima Kulbaragi and Yadgir and Bhima, it crosses here. The Bhima River joins Krishna here, the railway line crosses here in Kista, enters into Raichur Doab, and from the Raichur Doab it goes to Adoni here in the Rayalaseema Plateau, Guntakal Junction. And you can see the Kadapa basin here, the Pennar Valley, Thadipatri, Produttur and Kadapa. At Kadapa it enters into the valley again here, the Palakonda ranges west, Velikonda ranges east, and here you can see Arkonam in this place. This is the where the Renigunta resides. These are the Nagari Hills, it skids the Nagari Hills, and at Arkonam it goes to Chennai. The British built the railway line from Chennai, Arkonam to Arcot and Vellore. This is the Palar Valley, Ambur, and Jolarpeta will be somewhere here, the junction. From Jolarpeta, they built one diversion to Bangalore and the Bangalore Plateau. It continues here in the Salem and Erode and Tiruputtur, Coimbatore, cuts to the Palakkad Gap, and goes through Baipur line. You see the Baipur here, Kodalundi will be here, Kozhikode here. That's what the MRC, the mail railway line by MRC built from Madras Central to into the Malabar. And at Arkonam, they took a diversion and built the line to Bombay Presidency. That's what we talked about today, the fascinating Indian railway that was built from Madras to Bombay. That is 1281 kilometers. Its summit was at Lonavala, 622 meters above mean sea level in the Sahyadri mountains, connecting two important power centers of that time, Bombay city, Madras city of Madras province presidency and Bombay presidency. We talked about the GIPR, Great Indian Peninsula Railway, that built that part, and Madras Railway. It was built in the phases. Finally, it connected at Raichur town in the Raichur Doab. Northern part built by GIPR, southern part was built by MRC, and the cultural implications of the railways, ideological implications, Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup and Rajarshi Sitarama Goel's viewpoint, intellectual surrender of Hindu society to British imperialism and its product Macaulaysm. We saw the fascinating geographical regions of our Odissi in Deccan, from Madras Central to Victoria Terminus in Bombay, that is the Nagari Hills, Eastern Ghats, Palikonda ranges in the west, Velikonda ranges, the Rajampeta Valley region, and Kadapa on the bank of Pennar Valley, and Kadapa Basin, and Rayalaseema Plateau, and Guntakal in the Plateau, and Raichur Doab, Raichur Plateau, and crossing the Raichur Krishna River at Kista, and Bhima Valley at Wadi, Yadgir, Sholapur, Mohol, Kulbaragi, and cutting the Bhima River, entering into Mula-Mutha River valleys from Dond Indrayani Valley and Lonavala in the Sahyadri mountains and Bhor Ghat, descending into Ullas Plateau, Ullas Basin, and entering into crossing the Ullas Creek and entering to Salsette Island and Bombay Island. That is what we discussed today about the historic Deccan Odissi Indian Railway Madras-Bombay Railway, Chennapatnam Mumbai Railway. This is your presenter J. Reddy, and we appreciate your patience hearing and appreciate your subscriptions, encouragement, and popularizing our educational channel, your educational channel, South Asia, in maps, icons, images that brings a good cultural knowledge at deeper level from Karakoram Mountains to Kanyakumari, Kamarupa to Kutch, Kalat and Khyber Pass. And we will see you in further presentations. Thank you very much. And this is J. Reddy.